My guests today are Glen Biderman-Pam and Lara Lipschitz, two members of the cast of Bad Jews, a critically acclaimed play written by young Joshua Harmon, who's a very young man, New Yorker. You're acting in the play here. It's been very successful, but there's one thing I want to ask you. When I was studying for my bar mitzvah, and I bunked Hebrew classes and to play soccer or cricket, or I never went to shul on a Saturday, the rabbi used to say, you know, you really are a bad Jew. I assume that's not the theme of the show.
Well, it's part of it. Part of it is it's a question of what does make one a bad Jew. Does bunking bar mitzvah practice make you a bad Jew? Does eating leaven and bread on Passover make you a bad Jew? Or a good Jew? Or do you have to follow the traditions? What traditions do you follow? So it's more of a question of bad Jews, as our director often says. It should be bad Jews ? The title, because it's asking what does make you a bad Jew.
But that's a conversation that most Jewish families have in a secular world like today, in a Facebook world, in a world where things are moving so fast. How do you hold on to those traditions?
How do you hold on and still be in this modern world? But ultimately, bad Jews, the term is very tongue-in-cheek. You know, it's not supposed to, I mean, it does offend people, and I suppose it is part of why we're having sold out houses. People are interested and provoked, but once they see the show, they realize that's really just one element of the show.
And what character do you take in the show?
I play Daphne Feigenbaum. She is the self-righteous, proudly Jewish girl.
Actually, her name is Diana, but
she wants to call herself Daphne because she feels that she's more connected with her Hebrew roots.
Is she religious?
Yeah.
Observant?
But at the same time, she's not that kind of religious Jew that wears dresses and won't touch boys. She's a very liberal religious person, if that makes sense. Basically, it says that she is deciding to be Jewish in the way that she feels is right, and so does Liam. But she kind of feels that she's more right.
But that's one of the conflicts in Judaism in America, where you have conservative Judaism, where they give a bigger role to women, and yet in an Orthodox synagogue or in an Orthodox, those who are Orthodox don't recognize that.
Yeah.
Is she conservative?
Yeah, she wants to be a rabbi. She wants to do rabbinical coursework in Haifa, and she wants to get married, and she has a boyfriend. So we assume that she's not waiting for marriage to be, oh my word, got myself into the sentence.
Glen, are you the cousin?
I'm the cousin, and
married out of the faith, or a girlfriend out of the faith?
That's correct. I bring in a girlfriend who's blonde-haired and blue-eyed, and so she is to a lot of, not the stereotype Jewish girl, and she's from Delaware, and Lara's character has a bit of a problem with that, and which a lot of Jewish families might have in the real world. However, he doesn't believe that the rules should depict how he lives his life or who he lives his life with. And that's one of the debates that the play kind of talks about. Is
it a play that non-Jews can associate with? Is it something that a lot of other religions have the same kind of conflict?
Definitely, it's universal. I mean, the themes are about family and religion and heritage and mourning and all things that every family goes through. It's not specific to Jews, but in this case, it's about a Jewish family.
Yeah, and we have had a lot of non-Jewish crowds and audiences, and they've been completely responsive, and they've completely enjoyed it. A lot of my friends who I didn't go to a Jewish school, so I got a whole lot of friends who aren't Jewish who came to watch the show, and they absolutely love it, can relate to it. Yes, there's here and there's you'll say a thing like shiva or something like that, but it's all kind of explained. So the themes are, as Lara said, completely universal, and it's a comedy. We got to remember that, and the jokes are the jokes seem to have landed on everyone, and that's why we sold out in Cape Town and now are in the process of selling out in Johannesburg.
It is, I believe, very popular. One of the worst things is this show premieres on a Friday night, so anyway, we won't go there.
Jews.
Yeah, the bad Jews come and watch us.
Lara?
Yes.
Cape Town?
Yeah.
Are you a Herzliya girl?
No, I'm from Joburg actually.
Oh, from Joburg,
He's from
King
Cape
David.
Town. I went to King David
You
Linksfield
did?
from nursery school all the way through to matric.
And did you go straight into acting? Or?
I've always kind of been acting. As a kid, I used to present and act outside of school. I was a presenter on YoTV for 10 years on SABC1.
Child star.
Oh.
And then I studied drama at Wits for 4 years, and then only recently have I moved to Cape Town. But I'm still, I'm all over the place. Wherever there's work, I will be.
Can you make money from acting?
You can. You definitely can.
I know you can make money from being a comedian.
Yeah, the corporate gigs seem to roll in, and that keeps the rent at bay. Yeah, no, you absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of work for an actor in South Africa. There are a lot of commercials, especially over the festival, the season they call it down in Cape Town, where all the international companies come and shoot their stuff in our beautiful locations, beaches and mountains and things like that. So there's absolutely money to be made. Theatre is...
I was
In
going to
every
ask
part of the
about
world, though.
theatre. The one thing about theatre in South Africa is that when you go to New York or in London, it's all in one area. Right. And it has a certain feel, whereas in South Africa, it seems to be all over the place, almost disparate, one part here and everything, and you don't get a feel for theatre.
Right.
How, this is a show that has attracted popularity. How do you build theatre in this country? How do you get people to move away from TVs, move away from movies and actually come to theatre?
Well, I think it helps, like in this case with this play, it's about young people, and it's written by a young writer, and it's very contemporary. The writing is very fast-paced. It's like any American film you'd watch.
So I think what you're saying, to jump onto that, is a lot of people have that stigma that is attached to theatre, that it's Shakespeare and all these sort of dated things, which is very difficult to watch, especially as a young audience. But if you can get something like this going, which it's proven, and even the musicals down, that they do really well. But we want to get people to come and watch more straight theatre, which is non-musical theatre, because it does seem like the theatre-going culture in Johannesburg or Cape Town in South Africa in general, they don't know that the stuff is going on. So it comes, down to marketing, because the big musicals have that budget for marketing. They can put the billboards all over the place. So when I'm playing golf with my mates on a Saturday, and they say, "How's the theatre going?" "Oh, I went to watch Jersey Boys." That's what they think. That's where they think it stops. So because that's got the marketing behind it. So I think it's a combination between.
Yeah. When it comes to the Tonys, that's what you see.
Right.
When you
No,
watch
but this won a Tony, or was nominated for a Tony, I think, this play.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Exactly.
So it does get noticed overseas better, as you
But
say.
it's the colour. It's Neil Patrick Harris, dancing there, that attracts the kind of attention and so on.
Right. Yeah.
Have you acted in a musical?
I have, actually.
Can you sing?
I can.
Can you sing for us?
No, I can't. But yeah, I sing and dance as well, yeah.
Is that all part of becoming an actor? Do you have to have those talents today?
I think it helps in terms of versatility. It helps to be as versatile as possible, to do voiceovers and commercials and presenting and everything if you want to do this as a living, because you need to make money ultimately.
Do you have to go outside theatre to make a living?
I think so.
Yeah. I was watching an interview with Mark Strong, who you may or may not know. I never knew his name until I saw him, but he's always a villain on movies, and he said he was in the theatre for 12 years before he actually branched out into movies. And he never thought of it, never thought of going into movies. He was purely a theatre person. If you saw him, you'd know him.
Yeah, well, that's what another thing about in Broadway, New York City and London, is that theatre-going culture. They've got these 1,000 and up seaters that are packed night after night. People come from around the world specifically to go to a Broadway show. So the theatre-going culture it's on a different level. I feel like you can kind of sit in the theatre realm if you're there as an actor for a long time. And I mean, even a guy like Jason Alexander, who plays George on Seinfeld, he was on Broadway for ages. He won a Tony, and only after the Tony, he went and got a role in Pretty Woman, I think, and then he got Seinfeld. So I don't know if it's a choice, or if you stay there for a long time and then you wait to get picked up, or some people just prefer the theatre.
Relationships in a theatre? Where what I mean is that you've come up from Cape Town, you have to stay here for a long time. How does that How does that do? Is that just part of the job?
Yeah, it's part of it, and you get used to it. I had to go to Singapore for Jersey Boys actually, and I was there for 3 months. And
Are
my
you in
boyfriend,
Jersey Boys?
I was in Jersey Boys.
I love Jersey Boys. That's my era.
It was great.
I'm a man of the
It's a good-
60s.
it's a
Yeah,
good-
I
it's a
loved
good
it.
show. Yeah, the music is amazing.
Yeah.
But so yeah, it can take its toll. It depends on the people.
What role did you play there?
I was the swing,
Oh.
which means I played all 3 women on different nights.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's how talented.
What's a swing
versatile.
mean? You mean from you
I
you
swing
played
from one role to the next.
Why do they do that?
Because they need someone who can lift, hold it together when the boat is sinking. They need that person, the lifeboat.
When you go to Singapore, how do you keep it going? You know?
Well, thank goodness for technology.
FaceTime.
FaceTime and all
Yeah.
that helps.
Yeah.
The funniest thing is that I speak to my grandchildren on Skype and on they're in New York and they're in Sydney, and I speak to them on Skype and on and FaceTime. And once when they saw me on CNBC sitting there at the desk, they wanted to talk to me. They thought it was Skype.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a common mistake because the technology is so good.
So, Glenn, what's next?
Next is, I don't know if I've mentioned on air, but I was chatting to you off air being a comedian. I've got a lot of stand-up comedy coming up. So in fact, on Friday, we've got
You write your own scripts?
I write all my stuff, like most of the comedians in the country. That's quite an important, it is tough, it is really difficult, especially coming off a play where everything's written for you and all you have to do is come on stage and say the lines. Now I've got to go and think about, my own material but what I do enjoy about stand-up is that every night is different. That's the difference between theatre and stand-up is you can really, if you get bored of a joke or if you get bored of a, punchline, you can change it up and it's all completely up to you and you can play whatever character you want. If I feel like playing a German guy or a Russian guy or an Australian, or I can just write that into my script.
Are you good with accents?
You're
going to do the closeout.
Yes.
Do you know that?
Oh, well, we're gonna.
What you're going to say is you've been on. Well, we can't say on the couch. You've been on the stage with David Shapiro and with Lara Lipschitz, etc. We'll get you to do that in whatever accent you want to do it
Absolutely,
in.
no
Michael
problem.
Caine.
Yes.
You're going to do that? You
I'll
can remember lines. I can't.
Absolutely, we can do
Lara,
it.
and next for you?
I have my own web series that I work on. It's called Chin Up. It's on YouTube, and I'm planning to develop that into a feature film. So I'm busy working on that. I write as well.
Anyway, it's been an absolute pleasure being with you. I'm so glad that Bad Jews is a success. And on that note, we're going to get Glenn to wrap up.
Yeah, let's hear it.
You can't let us down.
All right, now, you've been watching CNBC with myself, Glen Biderman-Pam, played Michael Caine, Lara Lipschitz and David Shapiro. Come and watch Bad Jews at the Sandton Theatre on the Square. Ends 13th February. Thank you very much. I'm Glen Biderman-Pam, and these are my special guests.
Thanks.